Hey guys, it's Fight On 2016 here. Just going to try to break down my models now that college basketball has arrived. We have to kind of go over college basketball model, how it works. It looks pretty complicated, but after this tutorial I hope you understand it better, and then we'll move over and talk about a few of my other models. But first I kind of wanted to express how, college basketball, even though I do think I have the most edge in women's basketball. College basketball is my favorite sport. I've had so many betting memories from it. My favorite is, and as you guys probably see in chat, I have a TTM next to my name, which means trust the model. And the reason why that came to be is about two and a half years ago, or year and a half, 2.5 years ago, Arizona was playing in March Madness, 4 seed. They're playing Buffalo, and I created a basic win model at the time. I have since made a lot better, more sophisticated models, but I made a basic win model that told me in the first round I created an upset model, basically trying to figure out what kind of team upsets other more established teams. And Buffalo came off the charts as a team that was going to win. And I show up to Vegas. We have a table at a dingy hotel, but it's a great time. I show up and I sit down with our friends there, and I say, guys, Buffalo is going to win. And they say, who's going to guard the big guy? And that's the chief reason why I became a quantitative researcher, is your eyes get deceived at someone like DeAndre Ayton just dominating, but 1, he doesn't play defense, 2, he gets super frustrated, and 3, as we've seen in the NBA, you can go small and you can just double team big guys and kind of force them out of their game, which is what Buffalo did in that game. They were up, I think, 22-25 with 10 minutes left to go in the game, and the TTM moniker stuck, and ever since then, it's been a wild ride for us. And I've enjoyed it, and it all harkens back to college basketball. So many more stories I hope to share eventually, but I'm already eating plenty into the clock here. So anyway, so here is what you will see if you ever look at the college basketball model. On the left side, you'll see the teams that are playing. The way that I always set up the model is to have the home team on top. I guess I just like British Premier League and soccer because that's not how American teams do it, but I always have the home team on top with the away team right below. So this kind of goes back to my original model was the win model. So you'll see that here. It is less sophisticated. I look at it to kind of confirm suspicions, but one thing that you get at Beat the Bookie is members who care about the models they create, that they're constantly improving them. And last season, in the middle of last season, I created about a 30-factor, going through about 6 or 7 different formulas, a point model, where I try to predict, pretty close to accurate, this actual score of the game. And it's been a big game changer. Last year's March Madness, the first weekend, my dad and I, we always go to Vegas. We came out 14 units ahead in just the first 4 days. But every single game, we hit about 62% of the games. It was an amazing weekend with the point model. And so far this year, the point model's been on fire. Which is why, obviously, you all want to know kind of how it works and how to read it. So, it predicts the score, as you can see, which then we just basically take a spread off of it. We get a total just by adding them up. It does it for every game, and then you'll see the win model. So this is just to confirm some things, but obviously I would pay more attention to the point model. Here is the Vegas line. So you have the spread, you have the money line when they come out or if they post them. For a game like Rutgers Bryant, that game is not on a lot of sportsbooks because Bryant is a very unknown team. And that'll happen when you have 353 teams in Division 1. Some of these teams you might have playing, decent teams, and then you're just not going to get a money line for it. Or it's too high of a spread also. and then Vegas's total, and then it creates an implied points. And how I'd use the implied points versus our score is eventually I will have more confidence in the total, and you can use this for DFS. So, if, for instance, if I had confidence in this, then I could say, for instance, let's go down to this game, UAB Troy. Actually, I wouldn't really have much confidence, because that shows pretty much even. Or let's go Air Force, Idaho State. Vegas has Air Force at 73 points. We have them at 77. That's obviously a difference, and so if there's a guy on Air Force that you really want to take, maybe go over exposure to the field, because we expect more points, and more points always means more fantasy points at the end of the day. So that's kind of those 7 or 8 columns. Over here is kind of where we kind of analyze each one. So you have the Vegas win percentage, which is basically just a calculation off of the Vegas money line. You have our win percentage, which is a based off of our win model. So it's not based on the point model, it's based on the win model. And then that calculates a win percentage difference. So that's where you'll see kind of, for instance, down here with UAB, our win model has, basically UAB as a pretty solid lock to win this game. But the point model only has them at minus 7.2. So the spread difference from the point model is not very large. But the win model says they're going to win by a lot. And like I said before, I would trust the point model over the win model and use the win model to confirm. Okay. And then eventually we will have more confidence in total, so you can use the total difference column to look for overs and unders. So let's move on. So this is kind of all that you've seen before in my other models, and we'll kind of see that later. These are new. So with college basketball, you have 353 teams in Division I. So like we saw on Tuesday, you can have over 100 games with lines. And at the end of the day, while we trust our model, we want to make sure that other people like it as well. And so I've selected a few quants that I like, that are predictive, that have solid ratings, and compare their spreads and their spreads. And then I have one for Ken Palm alone, because he's the master of analytics, and I want to basically make sure that him and I are on the same page on a play. And so what you'll see is you'll come over here to this agree column. So this agree column basically says, if this is negative, which means Ken Palm thinks that the team is going to cover the spread. If this is negative, and this is negative, and they have to be all over -1. So that's why this negative 0.31, even though it is thinking they will cover the spread, it's not enough. We want to see a big difference, because if you have 120 games and you just looked for differences, you'd see 30 games to bet. And, I'm not ever going to tell you to bet 30 games, because my unit's 3% of my bankroll. And I'm not going to bet 100% of my bankroll on one day. We want probably more bankroll management than that, and so we kind of want to narrow it down to the best 1 or 2, 3. We might add optional bets to get 4 or 5 per day, but we want to make sure our money is in the smartest positions that will make us the most money over time, because college basketball is a marathon. It goes to April. There's over 10,000 games that take place. We have so much potential to make money later down the road. Let's not risk it all today. Let's save it. Let's make sure we're practicing good bankroll management. So what you'll see, we're going to look at games that have an agree next to their name. So anyone that has an agree will have this cumulative difference, which is not really cumulative, more so than it is an average. So it should be an average difference, and I'll actually change that name right now, because cumulative would be sum. And so it just basically takes an average of this, this, and this. So based on the model and based on this would say that Rutgers minus 20.5 is a good bet. And I do think that is a good optional bet for those that did not catch my earlier bet that I posted in Slack. So that is the college basketball model. It's pretty straightforward once you get your bearings. I'm obviously always in Slack and always willing to answer questions that you have, as well as provide feedback. But let's kind of jump over to our college football model. And obviously we are now in about week 9 of the college football season. So you guys all have kind of an understanding of how this model works. But I tried to simplify it as much as possible. So obviously we have the teams on the left side. We have the model spread and the model total, which creates an expected points, which again you would use for DFS purposes. For instance, tonight we can look at the South Florida Temple game. The model expects 9 more points to be scored in the total. And so both South Florida, so going from 24 to 28 points, and Temple 25 to 30 points, would be good places to target in DFS over what you'd expect a more chalky Lafayette team that's going to try to run the ball on Coastal Carolina. So maybe trying to find some running backs from South Florida or Temple to give you an edge. So we create a model spread, we create a model total, spits out expected points. We compare that versus Vegas's spread, Vegas's money line, and their total, which calculates an expected points as well. So all of the math and all the fun stuff comes over here. The points difference, obviously, like we said, there is some decent overexposure to South Florida and Temple. Spread difference. So if you look towards Friday, for those that are watching this for free without being a Bookie subscriber, here you go. Here are some future games for you to possibly look at. Our model projects Washington to win by about 13.5 points. Vegas has them winning by 10, so that's a great spot to target. Down here, Maryland, we expect them to lose by 38. Vegas has that at 43. At those numbers, I don't really want to touch that, especially with Ohio State really just running over teams, and I don't want a part of that, even though the 43 is a lot of points. But I probably won't touch it because I know that there are plenty of games later that day that I really want to attack. And so then total difference. So tonight we have South Florida and Temple, and Vegas has this game at 49 points. We have it at 58. I think the reason why Vegas has it such low is because of Temple's defense, and I think that may be a little priced in from where they were at the beginning of the year. Their defense was great at the beginning of the year, but it's kind of tapered off, as we saw in their absolute drumming from UCF last week. So we've seen Temple play competitive games and high-scoring games, and so we've also seen USF, and we've made money from taking overs on both of these teams. So I definitely would not hate taking a shot at the over in this game. And I will give kind of a more detailed breakdown for those in Slack, kind of running through per play metrics that kind of explain what I just said. So yeah, so that is the college football model. We've been hitting above 60% this year, and about 45 units total. It's been a great season so far. I hope you guys have been subscribers for a long time and have enjoyed the ride with us. I know that we've had a lot of people in Slack just have had amazing days and are able to go home to their partners, significant others, and buy them a nice bottle of wine. So that's my goal, and that's kind of my hope. So the last model I guess I wanted to show you guys was the NFL model. So obviously, this is the NFL model. It also kind of looks similar to everything I do because I try to make it as simple as possible for you guys to understand. So your teams, you have the points that I expect them to score, the spread off of that, the money line, and the total points. So that gets compared to Vegas. Sorry, give me a second. That gets compared to Vegas. So Vegas is spread, money line, and total. And I guess the story behind the NFL model and why I created it and what it seeks to solve is, so if you think, so my background is in quantitative research. I worked for a small cap mutual fund, and our goal was to basically invest based off of Thoma French. And so they were two very strong, very well-known economists from the University of Chicago, and they basically created this model that forecasted future returns. And it kind of broke it down into a few categories. And one was that small companies outperform big companies. And one of the big reasons of that is that there's an information disparity in that. So you don't know if a stock rises 30%, if it's going to go down 30% or keep rising up. Whereas with a stock like Apple, where it rises 5%, and then everyone kind of knows what earnings are going to be the next quarter, so they can easily forecast where it should go. Obviously, large cap stocks, you will have surprises, but for the most part, everyone has a decent idea of where something's going to go. And so I look at NFL the same way I look at large cap stocks. Everyone has an idea of each team's potential, and so we have to find different ways to exploit that knowledge. And the easiest way for me to do that is to actually target recency bias. And so if we look at the game tonight, for instance, we have Oakland at home taking on the Chargers. I explain this in Slack a little bit, but our goal is to either buy low or sell high on a team. Very much like stocks. If we could buy low and sell high, we're making money. So last week, the Chargers welcomed the Green Bay Packers to LA and basically put an absolute show on them. And I had that game. My model gave about a 7 or 8% EV towards that game, and I didn't play anything personally, but I know that some people follow the model and took advantage of it. And coming out of that, I think that there is a large recency bias to that, thinking the Chargers are now picking up steam, which is possible. It is. Anything is possible. But our goal is to see that, and to see the weeks before that when they played Pittsburgh, and that defense just ate through the sieve that was that offensive line. And we can kind of look at it and say, which one of those teams is kind of being shown in the Vegas line, which to me, with the Vegas line movement to the Chargers, is the extreme recency bias to Green Bay. And I think that it's probably more to a season average, and so I think that the Raiders have a great chance to win. We have a 7.74 win percent difference between us and Vegas. I do think Oakland wins this game, and I think it's a great spot to start the weekend off right. So those are my models. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and yeah, I hope you become and stay Beat the Bookie subscriber. I really enjoy having you all in Slack, and I do enjoy your company. So if you have any questions, at FightOn2016 in Slack, and I think my Twitter handle is DFS_FightOn2016. I think so. I don't go on Twitter very often. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy, and let's keep being the bookie together.